Hello, my name is Alfina, Raita, Putri, Aryadi, and I'm a student from School of Business Management, Institute Teknologi Bandung, Indonesia. Now, I would like to present my paper titled The Impact of Financial Literacy on Investment Decisions, a Study on Generation Z in Bandung. So, let's start with the introduction. According to Abul Daim on his research, financial literacy is the capacity to comprehend how money functions in today's society, including how people manage it, invest it, and offer it to one another. Nowadays, many sectors are being digitalized, including the financial sector. Digital finance connects new financial products and services to the digital world in order to accelerate financial innovation, including investment platforms. Online investment platforms have made it easier for people to invest because this feature aims to create an easier way to access the investment process. Based on the data from KSEI, the number of investors in Indonesia continues to increase every year. Within only 2 months, the number of investors is increased by 8.2%. From the total of more than 8 million investors, 60.32% of them are aged 30 years and under, which means that most of them belong to Generation Z. Gen Z is the potential target group for services in the financial sector. With gadgets and internet access on hand, they acquire comprehensive knowledge of financial products. On the other hand, in the 2019 National Financial Literacy and Inclusion Survey, a survey conducted by OJK, showed a financial literacy index of 38.03%. That number is still relatively low, but this figure has increased compared to the 2016 survey where the financial literacy index is only 29.7%. It can also be seen from the graph that for Gen Z itself, the financial literacy rate is still below 50%. This can lead to some investment traps. So preparing an investment planning is an important step before making an investment. In fact, there are many people who are not educated well in finance, especially the basic of investing. Many people only following the trend of the people around them without knowing the consequences. Thus, the result of the investment is unsatisfactory, or it could be low or even lost. This phenomenon could lead to another problem, and one of them is the trauma of losing a certain amount of money. Therefore, this study is needed to measure and understand more deeply how literate Gen Z on financial matters, especially investment. So, therefore, I have two research questions to be answered in this study. The first one is, does financial literacy affect investment decisions? And the second one, how does financial literacy affect investment decisions on Gen Z in Bandung? The aim of this study is to analyze the impact of financial literacy on investment decisions of Gen Z in Bandung, Indonesia. Move on to the next section, which is literature review. So, first of all, I would like to discuss about financial literacy. According to Abel Dayem on his research in 2016, financial literacy is the ability to acknowledge how money works in today's world, as well as how an individual manage and invest their money. There are several indicators to measure financial literacy, including behavior, skill, knowledge, and attitude. Second, investment decision. Investment decisions are related to how individuals allocate funds into investment instruments. Investment decision process can run well if an individual has financial goals, plans, and financial management skills. Investors will be rational in accordance with their level of financial literacy in making investment decisions, meaning that decision will be based on the consideration of all relevant information that can be measured so that they will have credible information and perfect self-benefits. Third, Generation Z. So Gen Z is the first generation growing up with the computers and internet on hand. It is easier and faster for this generation to study about the financial sector and implement it in their lives. According to the data projection, results compiled by Statistik Indonesia published in 2020, the Indonesian population in 2019 was dominated by people of working age, ranging from 15 to 24 years old, known as Gen Z. This generation is not only faced with increased complexity of financial products, services, and market, but also greater financial risk in the future. Move on to the research methodology. So this is my theoretical framework. Financial literacy is my variable. It has 4 sub-variables, such as behavior, skill, knowledge, and attitude. And investment decision is my dependent variable. I have 2 hypotheses. The first one is financial literacy does not impact the investment decision of Generation Z in Bandung. And the second one is financial literacy impacts the investment decision of Generation Z in Bandung. So the population of this research is the member of Gen Z, people who were born in 1997 to 2021 who live in Bandung, Indonesia, and are eligible to invest. Quantitative method were used in this research because of its ability to collect large number of data and its capability for testing the hypothesis. Since the population is Gen Z, who is extremely dependent on the internet, online questionnaires are the best way to collect the data in order to reach the sample of population. Confidence sampling approaches will be used to pick samples based on the characteristics such as accessibility, time, and cost. And before collecting the data from the primary sources, the researcher also gathered some secondary data from previous studies, and the data will be were analyzed using linear regression by using an application called SPSS. Next part is the questionnaire development. So to measure financial literacy, I have 11 questions for the respondents. Each questions represent 4 sub-variables of the financial literacy I have mentioned before, and I have 5 questions to measure respondents' investment decision. And these questions were sourced from Utami and Sitanggang on their research in 2021. Now, I would like to show you the survey results. So, I have spread the questionnaire and there are 200 valid respondents. And the respondents' gender composition are dominated by females with 2,029 respondents or 64.5%. And the rest are male. And 76% of the respondents are aged between 18 to 21. In line with the age range, 82.5% of the respondents were currently a student, either a university student or a high school student, and the rest of 17.5% are divided into 5 other occupations. Respondents' educational background are mostly people who have graduated from senior high school and are currently doing their bachelor's degree. Based on the respondents' answer, 30.5% of them have monthly income less than 1 million rupiah, followed by 31% of them who have around monthly income between 1 million rupiah to 2.5 million rupiah. And to continue the questionnaire, respondents were asked whether they have a bank account or not, and based on the survey, all of the respondents have a bank account, which means they are actually qualified to do investment activities. And based on the questionnaire also, all of the respondents have some investment experience. So in this case, having savings in a bank account is also considered as an investment. So the result of the questionnaire shows that all of the respondents at least have their savings in their bank account. So when people have savings in their bank account, they are indirectly investing because clients can get an interest from the bank if they save some amount of money. There are also some respondents who are also using cryptocurrency, stocks, and other products as their investment products. It means that some of the respondents already have basic knowledge about investment. Now let's discuss about the data analysis results. So for descriptive analysis, as shown in the table, the highest mean score is 5.12. For the indicator, I invest for my future needs. In reverse, the lowest mean score is 3.615%. 3.615 represented by skill and financial literacy from the I understand how to calculate return on investment indicator. This implies that most of the respondents actually do not understand how to calculate the return they can get from investing a certain amount of money. So for the validity and reliability test, the main goal of the validity test is to establish which responses are appropriate for the study. It's also used to make sure the respondent's answer is correct, and the average variance extracted should be 0.5 or higher to assess conversion and discriminant validity. The significance value of every item is smaller than the maximum p-value, which is 0.05, so it can be concluded that the financial literacy data and the investment decision data are valid. On the other hand, the reliability testing was measured using Conver alpha. The value is considered acceptable if it is greater than 0.06, and referring to the results, with Conver alpha value being greater than 0.06, therefore both of the variables are considered reliable. For regression analysis, financial literacy was tested using regression analysis to see if it was statistically significant factor of investment decision making. The linearity of the regression test can be measured with Durbin-Watson statistic. Therefore, it can be concluded that the data is linear because the Durbin-Watson score is close to 2. ANOVA statistics determined that the inclusive sample was considerable. The F statistic is 160.108, and this number represents the significant effect of financial literacy on investment decision. Additionally, the regression model is a good fit of the data, and there's a statistical significance since the p-value is less than 0.05. The regression coefficient test indicates the positive effect of the independent variable, financial literacy, on the dependent variable, investment decision, and making the p-value of 0 is less than 0.05. For the normality test, one sample Kolmogorov-Smirnov test was performed to ensure that the data was normally distributed. As shown in the table, there are 200 valid data points that were used in the study with a standard deviation of 3.023 and the significant value of 0.06. Since it is more than 0.05, it indicates that the hypothesis is correct and the data is normally distributed. And for the hypothesis testing, the hypothesis can be accepted or rejected based on the probability of its relevance. If the significance probability value of the variable is lower than the maximum value of the significance confidence level, then the hypothesis is accepted. So the first and second hypothesis discusses the relationship between financial literacy and investment decision. And the second hypothesis is the one who is accepted because the p-value is below 0.05. Lastly, the conclusions part. So financial literacy, it can be concluded that financial literacy influences investment decision of Generation Z in Bandung in 2022, according to the research findings. As a result, Generation Z may need to understand more about investing, including return on investment, as well as the length of the investment returns. The financial literacy level of the population also still needs to be improved, since Gen Z will soon take over all of the important roles in Indonesia. Therefore, Indonesia's financial condition is in the hands of Generation Z. So I think that's all for me. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, you can comment. You can just write the question in the comment section and I will try to answer it later. Thank you.